Welcome to Show, Don't Tell, a podcast by TelScreen's team of Wes Harris and Kent Harris, sharing their stories of being in the eye care industry in their unique, punny style with facilitator Christy. Awesome.
Ready
Welcome
or
back.
not, here we come.
And take.
Action.
So, welcome to this episode of Show, Don't Tell.
Oh, is that what we're calling this podcast?
Yep. Unless you decide you want to change it. No.
Not yet.
Can we still find it on TelScreen.com?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, you can. In fact, we'll go over our numbers in a little while once we finish this episode, but we get to go over, we have activity. People are listening.
More than my 3 daughters?
Yes.
Awesome.
This is fantastic.
I want to see how many digital jumping jacks they did, because that's the only activity that counts starting in January.
So first of all, if you are listening to this, we appreciate you
And we
tremendously
apologize.
ahead of time. What you're getting yourself into is a very fun podcast about, serious matters when it comes to digital eye imaging systems in the eye care industry.
And a wide range of other topics.
Exactly. And your entertainers.
I like how you put the question mark in there. Like, we're really not certain what to call
Your
them.
entertaining engineers of this podcast are both Wes Harris and Kent Harris of TelScreen.com.
.com. In fact, that's what our degree says. We had a master's in EE, which was entertaining engineers.
Sure. Is that that should be a thing. I mean, that's a very specific demographic within engineers. I know most of engineers.
Well, the entertaining engineering division is much smaller because I only know of like a few comedians who went, there were electrical engineers and then went to comedy. There was one guy, Brian somebody, I forget his name, but he was funny.
Really?
Yeah.
There's
Engineering comedians, yes, it's a thing.
Yeah.
we
assume,
need to have one on this podcast.
Ouch.
Present company is a poor imitation of what's actually possible.
I just assume that means he had trouble with the math.
And that's why I'm in marketing. So, okay, all joking aside, let's do this podcast like official. What's our topic for today, Wes? Did you have, because you wrote some notes down. I didn't know if you had any.
That's unrelated to podcast. That's an article that we need to have some of our customers work with us on.
Well, I was thinking this morning when I woke up and random marketing thoughts that come on, and I was thinking about, well, how do people get the feeling of a personal connection with the companies they're doing business with now that everything's much more digital? Back in my day, when I wanted to do something, if I wanted to know something about a company that I just was fine or looking for a service, you used the yellow pages, you made a phone call. And if the person you happened to talk to was helpful and you could have any sort of bonding and rapport and build any sort of trust with, then you'd consider buying their product. But how do people do it nowadays? How do all the websites out there, whether they're fancy or maybe not as fancy, but how do they know that these people, who are these people and how can we trust them? And then the other question is, how do I know that they actually know what they're talking about, or are they just really good at spinning? Really good at just pretending to be experts but not really helping you at all. And their expertise consists of, I can tell you, we sell 4 products, and if you do this, you should buy this one, and if you do this, you should buy that one, and that's all I know is, the customer demographic for that.
Right.
And in the old days, pre-COVID certainly, but going back 20 years, there were years that we did 50 exhibits, state optometric shows, national shows, regional shows, workshops, whatever, but 50 in a year.
That's a lot.
Certainly for a company our size, that's an awful lot.
Yeah.
We were gone all the time, but we were out there meeting people, getting to know people, building relationships, and making friends in optometry as we solve problems. And now that we're down to a handful of shows, maybe a dozen in a year, so we're not out there as much anymore. But we have a telephone. Nobody uses telephones anymore.
Except to text.
No, I'm talking about landlines.
Yeah.
There will
Landlines,
always
what's
be. Every single episode we've done, hasn't the phone rang at least once around here?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
there are people who.
You still got
Yeah,
your
but half of the time
clients.
those are robocalls.
Oh, well, that doesn't count.
But the other half are people who actually know us and want to talk to us from time to time, not just call when they need help, but sometimes it's actually just
But I mean, to get
call
to your
say
point,
hello.
it's people who know you already are using the phone.
And so, in our industry, the standard was either I know you because you've been to my practice and you've either installed some equipment for me or you've done, some work for me, and I know you personally because you're local. You're in my area, and you're the guy to call when I need a chair installed or when I need something fixed or whatever.
my forearm needs to be cleaned.
Things like that. And then it broadened to, okay, well, I went to CE, I saw you at a show, and, well, okay, you were there once. Let's see if you show up again next year and next year. And then around the 5th or 6th year, then you were a regular. And maybe you would start to get some relationship development of, okay, well, now tell me about your product. Because if you haven't been to my show at least 5 years in a row, how do I know you're not just going to fold up and close tomorrow?
Right.
So
Right.
Or abandon us.
or abandon us when we need you. And as for us, our company started in '89, so that helped very much to say, when we went to shows in 2000, well, we've been around 11 years, and we're not going anywhere anytime soon.
So back to the question of how do people form relationships over digital channels now?
I'm guessing this is where you want me to come in as a marketing person and have
enlighten us.
Sure, enlighten
Because
you.
our customers have this.
And whenever you understand that as part of the effort going forward, regardless of the channel, whether it be digital or trade show or newspaper or whatever you pick as that particular channel in which you're going to communicate in, you want to focus on the people first. So really defining, really getting to know that target audience is a huge deal, because that then bleeds into anything that requires some targeting. So let's pick a channel. So usually in strategy, whenever I sit, like I sat with you guys, we worked out a strategy. Like, what are the objectives? What do we need to have happen? Determine what do you need for the business first. Because a lot of people out there, especially in the marketing world, will be like, you need to be on social media. You need to do this. You need to do that. But do you really? And this is where I like to pull people back a little bit to say, what are the objectives you're trying to accomplish that marketing should support for the business?
So before you pick a marketing activity, pick an objective or reason why you're doing it.
Yes.
So if a doctor's objective is, I need 20 new patients per month being introduced to my practice, because obviously people die, people move, I have to replace my patient base at some
or
some
I'm
point.
starting a new location, or I'm expanding in some fashion.
Or you're ready to just jump to that next level for revenue. Absolutely.
So adding a second doctor, I need to make sure that patients want to see my new associate or my new partner.
And that requires more money. So anybody that comes to me usually is like, we need to make more money. Of course you do. Of course we do. So then the next step is to look at, okay, what do you currently do? And what about what you currently do works? And maybe you just need to focus in one of those areas and tweak it. And then like the floodgates open kind of concept. But that requires you to sit down and think about your buyer behavior. So back to knowing your person, how do they use that channel to get to you and to communicate with you so that you're communicating back to them within that channel? And so that back to knowing the person that you're trying to bring in. So social media is always a big question. Like, how do I deal with Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, right? How do I handle that, bring them in? Well, sometimes it can be just as easy as start posting something. Anything. Don't care. If it's a picture of a dog with the binoculars on, I don't care what it is, but sometimes you just have to play the game of the channel itself to start getting some eyeballs on it, because the currency of marketing is eyeballs. So awareness.
Hey, same currency as our eye doctor.
Right? Yes, absolutely. So you'll get this. that currency then that's how much attention are they going to, how much time do I get with them paying attention to me? And how can I give them more of what they want while I still need to say what I know they need to hear?
Sounds like this is a parenting lesson. Wait a minute.
Sometimes. It does kind of feel that way, because if you think of a Venn diagram, there's a lot of things I want to say on behalf of this business as a marketer. On behalf of TelScreen, there's a lot of things I want to tell your target audience. But do they really care enough to listen all the time?
3 people do.
And they're in this building.
Wait a minute. I care all the time?
1.5.
It's in your contract, job requirement.
Oh.
So that's on one side of this diagram. The other side is, what are the things that they want to hear? What are the things they enjoy? And especially, what do they enjoy from you? A lot of my clients will be like, we need to post about a sale. I'm like, okay, but just be prepared. That's not the post that's going to get engagement. So ideally, what we want social media to do is it's a social channel. That means you're trying to be social with people. So think about, what would you talk to this person about at a trade show? How would you build that relationship? You're just translating it digitally. How would you do it at dinner after the trade show? You're just translating that digitally. So you get to play a little bit more depending on that channel and the feel of the tone of voice that you would use per channel. LinkedIn is professional conversation. And
so it sounds like, from what you've said, we should never talk about signal-to-noise ratio, pixel fill factors, lens angles, diffusion through substrates until combining with holes and electrons. Sounds like none of that fits the dinner table.
Do you talk about that at the dinner table?
Unless you're making donuts, that's the closest you get. Electrons and holes.
As much as you want to talk about that, no, your Venn diagram takes the overlap of the two, and that becomes the sweet spot of your content.
So how do we get people to care about electron hole pairs? And
Well, maybe they shouldn't care about electron hole pairs. Maybe they should just rely on the fact that we care about electron hole pairs, and they don't have to. We care about electron hole pairs so that you don't have to. There's the tagline.
That is the tagline, in all honesty. And here is a cute little kitten for you to look at now.
And Johnson Noise is right out.
And Keanu Reeves really is the nicest guy in Hollywood, or if not Dwayne Johnson, one of those two. So
let's not talk about celebrities right now. That's a whole different tangent for me. So that is really the baseline concept of when you're doing your marketing. Have the other person, your ideal client, your ideal customer, your ideal guest, your whatever you're calling them, your ideal patient, have them in mind when you are creating the content to put into a channel. And don't let anybody else, like somebody that's buying media for you or whatever, convince you otherwise. Start with, how are you already talking with that person? And then just start to script that out. So usually what I've personally have been doing for my own business is I will start to, I just had this conversation. What was this conversation like? And I literally script it out. Like, he said, I said, he said, I said. Because for me, my clients, at the end of the day, they just like, I love my Christy time. And I'm like, what does that mean? So I have to go back through these conversations, because we're building the relationship in that, and find those points of aha moments.
Start to distill it into, what do they mean when they say, I love my Christy time? What does it do for them?
Exactly. Yeah. So same thing for the doctors and their patients. Those moments that they had, oh, I can't believe this, or oh, thank you so much, or whatever. Chart that, like, write it down, put it in your little recorder, whatever's easiest for you to track that, and then translate it to content later.
Have the front desk person that's essentially your right arm with a Post-it note tree on the wall, and every time you get one, you write it down and you post it on the wall.
Exactly. You keep a little steno book. You keep, you have guests. When you have a patient go out, there's all kinds of ideas for them to do an immediate review right then and there. Reviews are golden on any channel. So almost every channel has a way to put some sort of review or endorsement. And if you can get your patients to do that before they walk out the door, that is helping you tremendously in your marketing data, your analytics, all the traffic goes up because everybody listens to everybody else about who the best doctors are.
Yeah, I think we're in review overload, though. I mean, right now, the number one most annoying thing that appears in my email box is, you just bought this from Amazon. Would you please review the product? And it's like, Lord have mercy. I just, I'm trying to get something done here. It's
we don't like
computer
reviews.
Updates and reviews. Those are the two things that
look, I just
don't
had
want
to deal with
my time on.
PCI compliance for another client.
Yeah. Hey, I'm with you there.
We hate that too.
Not my thing. I hate it. Yes, review overload if it's getting pushed on you.
Yeah.
But what about when you're out there searching for something? Don't you check reviews to see if it works?
Oh,
or
definitely.
Not?
It's definitely
100%.
useful, but I just wish I wish we would have a little standard. The engineer in me would require more efficiency in this review process. Just like a review should be, tell me one thing you liked and one thing you disliked. If you would just do that, we're out of your hair. We're not going to make you click to some survey monkey and rate 1 to 10 on inane questions that didn't apply to me most of the time and required 4 pages to get through. One thing you liked, one thing you didn't like.
He's not bitter about it at all.
Not at all. Well, no, I get it because there was an experience. This is pre-COVID, and it's been a handful of years ago, and I was at a Cracker Barrel just trying to get through a meal with family.
So one thing you didn't like, family.
There was a lady who brought the tablet over, and it literally was 27 pages
Lord.
of like 10 questions per page.
Wow.
It took me.
I would require a discount on my bill for that.
I said out loud, you should give me a free meal for the amount of time I sit here and took this survey. And she's like, oh, I'd have to talk to my manager about that. And I'm like, you might want to have the manager start doing that because I'm in this business and that was not fun. Now, the flip side, though, you can't just as excited as I get about Disney, I am willing to take whatever surveys they have. Disney World, okay? I love Disney World. They train their cast extremely well. I've always had a great experience, even when things went haywire. People are just really willing to help make it a great experience. So, sometimes you see those guys walking around with those tablets with the survey, and I'm like, oh, I'm happy to take a survey. He's like, no, I have to randomly pick. And I'm like, man.
Well, then you look at me and say, well, pick a number. That's my number. Wow.
What do you know? So I was like,
it's all random.
like, shoot. So how do you get people excited to do, the feedback and the survey and that kind of thing? So it's when you in patient, like in this office, in the practice before they walk out the door, I've seen some dentists actually have a wall that has an Instagram selfie area and they can show off their smile and all that kind of stuff. Boutiques sometimes do
orthodontists,
it.
that's the popular orthodontist wall for all the parents who are paying for their kids' teeth to get straightened to say, oh.
Yeah. Here in Louisville, one of our favorite practices, you get to sign a ceiling tile, and it goes up in the ceiling in the waiting room. So when people are bored and they look up, they see all of these testimonials from prior patients.
See, that's smart too. So just really creative ways to then turn and do that. Because like you mentioned in the beginning about going to the trade shows and you're talking to people and they want to hear about longevity and they want to, you're just building that based on relationships you have with others. You're just sharing these pieces of conversation and it just builds credibility.
All right, problem solved.
Sure. But then also review like what's working and what doesn't, so go back and look at the numbers and watch the behavior. There's going to be back to social media, Facebook specifically. There's going to be some posts that you put out there and you're like, this is going to be a game changer. Like we can sit and do something and get all excited about it and there'll be nothing happen. Like my reach will be 5 people might have seen it. Nobody liked it. Nobody shared it. And then I internalize that was a huge failure now. So now the rest of the time I don't do anything right. Don't do that to yourself. It might just be not enough people saw it that day. Or they might have even said out loud to themselves, oh, that was cute. And they just kept scrolling with their thumb on mobile, right? It could be anything. But you do want to watch what is working for them. What do they actually stop and engage with? They've hit the like, love, or share, or commented. Comments and shares are going to get you more organic eyeballs for any of those platforms. That's how to win that channel game. Google's a little different. Google, you need to just stay alive everywhere.
Clear.
Right.
We're getting killed on Google.
Quick, revive.
No, what I mean by that is if you do have an outdated website, anything prior to
2022.
Yesterday.
Anything that is, I would say at this point, about 3 to 5 years old. If it's 3 to 5 years old, you need to get it updated.
Hey, that applies to equipment too.
Kent the Subtle.
Shameless
In
plug.
my case, 5 to 10 years old. If you've hit 10 years, do something about it.
Yes.
10 years is winning. So you've already won. Now it's time to look at the next 10 years.
Unfortunately, with websites, what we don't realize is because of all of the same computer maintenance, updates, subscriptions, integrations, all of the back-end stuff to your website can be broken, hacked, hijacked. All of this other stuff can happen to it over time, which will start to degrade that. If you have something happening to your website, it might be a broken image or two, Google dings you for it. So they're like, that's broke. They ain't taking care of their
Stuff.
Yep. And says you get a lower ranking. This is organic, mind you. This is not buying in the paid ads. This is not.
No. Organic.
What?
That was an organ for people who couldn't
Oh
tell.
my gosh. Payback. That's what that was.
Would you like me to explain that?
No. Not now. Thanks, Wes, for the explanation ahead of time. So with the Google game, you want to make sure that you stay alive and active through your website. So that means, making sure your stuff is not broken, that it is completely compliant. It needs to be mobile friendly and accessible. So ADA compliant. You check your fonts, your margins, your ability to, for whatever.
Magnify.
Accessibility.
Exactly.
And everything, yeah.
And then the other thing is on the back end, when you're adding content, make sure that it is optimized according to how your person is trying to look for what you have, how they look for you.
So guess what they're searching for, not put it in under what you wish they were searching for.
Exactly. And start with your FAQs. What kind of questions do they ask you when they call in to schedule appointments?
Hey, Wes, you're from Kentucky. Got any bourbon?
What can I do you for?
Right? We went through this same practice with you guys. What are the most common questions you get when needing to choose a slit lamp or the eye imaging system? And what are they looking for? Like how to use it or what's the best thing? Or, we've got a list of those FAQs on the current site. And so that's always a good place to look because Google now has a section too. If you've asked that question that falls under well-written FAQs, they'll put that FAQ section as a highlight on that front page.
Yeah,
yes.
Right. I've seen that.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of those things. If you don't know how to do it yourself, get some help. This is what I do. And not that it is a shameless plug. It doesn't have to be a shameless plug. But this is why you guys
You
brought
should feel
me in.
proud of that plug, Christy. There's no shame.
There's no shame. You guys did tell one of our guests that I was a Wonder Woman of marketing. So I totally like that.
Yeah, we stand by that.
I appreciate it. So these are the things that I work through. And that's just figuring out the foundation and the plan and all of that kind of stuff. Once you put it into action, you're watching behavior. And then you're adjusting according to them, not you, them. They are the ones that are important because you want them to sign on with you. You gotta build a relationship with them.
Uh-huh. All right.
Are we wrapping up?
Are we?
I think so. We need to keep it short and sweet.
Okay, we can totally wrap up. So, one thing about this one though, if you, the audience, if you guys have questions or anything that you need some direction for, feel free to contact TelScreen and they can help with that because there's a lot of business advice that you guys give as well that doesn't fall under just marketing, but in like all kinds of things within a practice, because you guys have seen a lot, been through a lot, experienced with them.
We've lived through the transition from optometry as eyeglasses to optometry as first-line medical care. So seeing practices that have embraced medical optometry as their primary focus, and how do you get there from wherever you are? That's one of the journeys we're very familiar with. So, yeah, certainly be happy to help.
I mean, just an example of that kind of transition is dealing with insurance in an eye care practice. If when they were just doing some glasses and contacts, vision insurance was relatively new at that time, wasn't as prominent.
Pervasive.
Not everybody had it, and so they didn't have to deal with it necessarily. They could really be a retail shop for glasses. Well, now, medical eye care, that's insurance. That's medical insurance. That's like a hospital visit in terms of insurance. It's no different to the insurance company whether you visited a hospital, whether you visited an optometrist for medical eye care, or visited a specialist. They're just another specialist. So that means you need to know how to deal with insurance. And
we've walked that walk too.
We walked that walk too. So.
See, as I say, you guys are like this wealth of knowledge that you're willing to share, and that's what I appreciate about you too. So hopefully, I know your clients do as well. So because they'll call in and ask all kinds of questions.
That could be new. The next episode, questions people have asked us.
Yes, that would be great. So
That's
stay
true.
tuned, y'all. Stay tuned. Thank you for listening. This has been the apparently marketing episode for TelScreen, the podcast of Show Don't Tell, which you can find on TelScreen.com or your favorite listening channels.
iHeartRadio, right? That's one of them.
No, we're on Spotify, though.
Spotify, okay.
We're on Spotify and iTunes and one other big Google Podcasts.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Of course, Anchor is our host, so they kind of put us out there in a couple other things, too. But, yeah, we can find us. And to our audience in Germany, thanks so much for listening. We appreciate you as well. Just a quick shout-out, because I know that they're listening.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, according to the data and our consumer behavior. So, thanks guys for this episode. I've been part of it today. My name's Christy. And
Christy has been our guest this year to have marketing expertise from TelScreen.
so there you go.
She's going to explain next time why engineers shouldn't do marketing.
I really don't think I have to explain that.
And on that note, we're out.
Thanks everybody.